And you're very welcome to the 47th edition of Tour de Hongrie, 5 days of spectacular UCI 2.0 level Pro Series racing, and well, we've got 19 teams, including 7 at World Tour level, that have come to do battle throughout the southern part of this nation, from east to west. It's going to be a spectacular week of racing, something for the sprinters, plenty for the sprinters indeed. Also, the general classification contenders, looking forward to that big scrap on the penultimate day, the 4th stage. Teams and riders presented, 112 in total, representing those 19 teams, 7 at World Tour level. Pro teams, plenty of continental squads as well. We've got a cyclocross team we've even got, as ever, the Hungarian national team. Plenty of national champions as well. 5 indeed national road race champions, including the national road race champion of the host nation, Dina, the host of riders. They've performed with great distinction in this race in the past. A couple of former champions as well, several stage winners over the years. Lots and lots of real quality and talent as we get set for our first day of racing from Ula, right on the Romanian border, about as far east as you can get, and very, down the bottom of the country as well. And we've got a nice loop that takes us around to Bekes-Csaba. As the crow flies, just a matter of about 20 minutes from the start location. Got a lap of 33 kilometers. We're going to loop around on several.
Leginkább történelmi váráról, gyógyfürdőjéről és gazdag kulturális életéről ismert. Nyugodt légköre és gasztronómiai hagyományai vonzó úti céllá teszik. A 2026-os magyar körverseny útja május 13-án a viharsarokból indul.
Here's what's in prospect from Ula. Start today, short loop that will take the riders out over 2 kilometers of neutralized, and then into the lap as we make our way through to the finish location of Bekes-Csaba. We've got 3 intermediate sprints along the way, both at start and finish locations. And then at the end of 2.5 laps, a total of 143 kilometers, absolutely pan flat, is where we're heading. Bekes-Csaba. Been a finish location on this event, but not recently. It's well over 20 years since we've been here, so what a delight it's going to be. These are the scenes recorded earlier on today as the riders departed the fray, the national road race champions, to the fore. And I can tell you it was a very, very busy start to the day. Plenty of action, and some of it not exactly what the riders would have hoped for. Series of riders coming down in this tumble after 9 kilometers, as the breakaway was still trying to establish itself. Well, indeed, several riders indeed with pretty ripped up speed suits after that one. As far as we understand, absolutely everyone's managed to get up and get galloping once again. Eventually we got a breakaway group establishing itself. 2 up front for Lidl Trek, and Benoit Cosnefoy taking care of business for general classification by scooping the final bonus second at the first of our 3 intermediate sprints today. There's the 2 Danes for the Lidl Trek squad that were up front and through that first intermediate sprint. They're still clear of the field. Impressive work being done by the Lidl Trek squad, who don't have a standout sprinter in what looks a nailed-on bunch gallop today, except these are really wide open roads, and I think that may have informed the thinking in the peloton that there is the potential for a little bit of crosswind action, albeit it's one big long loop of 33 kilometers, so you're going to get headwinds, crosswinds from left and right, and a bit of tailwind action. One big long loop, just over a minute advantage. The pace has been fairly grippy on the front of the peloton throughout. Maximum lead for our duo up front, our intrepid duo, from a team that doesn't have a standout sprinter, so that may also have been informing their thinking today, as they sent Matthias Sunaker Norsgaard, to give him his current official moniker. Clear with Christian Ekholm, 29 and 22 years of age respectively. We did have a couple of local riders also trying their luck to try and get across the gap. Marco Tot from the Team United Shipping, which is a local continental team registered in Hungary. He was chasse patate for a little while, went really close to making up and linking up with those Lidl Trek riders up front, didn't quite make it, and therefore kind of hung out front in between in no man's land for an extended period, eventually towed back into the welcome embrace of the main peloton, which, as you can see, is being towed along by the Sudal Quick-Step squad. Martin Severcek, the 23-year-old Slovenian rider, has the honour of setting the tempo, setting the agenda, and a solid job he's doing indeed. 1 against 2 strong riders, and these two out front have never really had a significant advantage as they settle into the long push. The Soudal Quick-Step squad, I can tell you, among their number 51, Tim Merlier, he is the red-hot favourite for stage honours today. If it comes back to a big bunch kick, the former European champion, one of the best sprinters in the world. It's a pretty strong sprint field in this year's edition of the Tour de Hongrie, but not necessarily as many riders of the quality and caliber and sheer speed and ability of Tim Merlier. He's going to be, as I say, the red-hot favourites to secure honours today, and that's why the Soudal Quick-Step squad have been happy enough to take up position on the front of the peloton. One of the amazing castles we're going to see today, the Almaty Castle, 1725, as you see. Emperor Francis the First, Franz Joseph and Queen Elizabeth all visited that castle. 1849, 10 of the 13 martyrs of Arad, leaders of the Hungarian Revolution, set out from Almaty Castle on their final journey to Arad, where they were executed. So it's a very important monument to the history and creation of the modern Hungarian state. So our two out front representing the just 6 riders that have come for the Lidl Trek squad. 6 in total, 6 for all of the teams indeed, is a maximum deployment. That tends to make the racing pretty interesting, doesn't it? A relatively short stage for you to kick things off this week. And absolutely, as I say, pan flat. What is it, 176 meters of altitude gain across 143.2 kilometers. There's barely a ripple, barely even, I mean, there isn't even a railway bridge or a motorway crossing that we could produce any sort of a bit of excitement for, or even a few points towards the King of the Mountains classification. So that doesn't start till tomorrow. Meanwhile, we've got the Jaco Lula squad setting up on the just behind our lone chaser up front. A little bit of a sense of echelon about the front of the peloton there. As you see the UAE Team Emirates XRG squad behind those purple-clad Jaco Lula team. And in the line astern, the Cofidis squad, with plenty of interest, I think, particularly, well, they've got interest today. Alexis Reynard's a fine young sprinter for France and for Team Cofidis. And a string of strong climbers and riders in good form, thanks of Sylvain Moniquet, Jamie Meehan of Ireland, Louis Roulard of France, all in good climbing form and will fancy their chances when they come to stage 4. Matthias Norsgaard, wonder which of the two he is, yes. He's a big unit. 2 meter tall and a bit, and he's actually, you'll see he's got sort of aftermarket stem. He hasn't got the integrated cockpit that is the sort of de rigueur in world cycling these days. And no doubt that's partly because he likes to just try and put himself into a situation where he's able to work on his setup to the absolute perfect degree. Huge crowd out here in the finish line. We will see them again very shortly. Let me get my road book and I'll see when we're next going to have the riders at the finish line in about 6 kilometers indeed. They'll get to see the all sorts of event mascots. The typical stork is represented in the mascot of this bike racing. And no doubt, if you keep an eye out on those lampposts as well, every chance that we'll see those remarkable creatures, rumored to carry babies to expectant mothers. Also, I can tell you we've got a huge crowd of recent university graduates that have assembled in mortarboard and gown at the finish line. So they're obviously celebrating their graduation. And who's going to graduate with success in today's first stage of the 2026 edition of the Tour de Hongrie? banging the boards and getting tuned up. Still 6k before this duo make it through to the finish line. Into the sprint zone, 5k to go. This is the point at which, if you're still in the group out front, any little encounter of a complicated nature, i.e. a mechanical difficulty, or if you hit a crash or any such mishap, you will get the time of the group that you were in. If that was the lead group, you won't be inconvenienced beyond any injury or mechanical malady that you may encounter. There's that big old stem on the Matthias Norsgaard, his bike. It must be at least 15 centimeters long. Severcek on the front of the peloton, as you can see. Slightly narrower road, so slightly more excitement behind. 60 kilometers to go, long way to go still. And those that duo up front, it's well within their compass to close this one down at a moment's notice, you suspect. But I get a feeling that there's a little bit of intensity about the body language of the riders behind. If the pace hasn't quite gone on, with Severcek still the man, the lone leader on the front of the peloton, I suspect one or two riders have been given a little bit of instruction to be ever vigilant, stay as close to the front as possible. Always the potential for a little bit of excitement. As this gap comes down to around about 30 seconds, and if they hit a crosswind section, don't be surprised to see a little bit of excitement. And I think that's to a large extent why we're seeing the Jayco Alula team, who don't have an outstanding sprinter among their lineup, but they do have two of the pre-event favourites in Paul Double and Luke Plapp. Two outstanding World Tour riders. Paul Double, a couple of stage race successes under his wheels and under his belt last year, Tour de Slovakia and Tour of Guangxi. Both claimed by the British rider, the British climber, last year, so he'll have his eye on stage 4, as indeed will Luke Plapp, fine time trialist. No time trial this week, but Plapp is a great climber as well, the Australian rider. They have a really strong agenda for JC, and clearly Jayco Alula keeping those purple jerseys close to the front, ever vigilant to any little bit of excitement that might happen in the bunch if things start to get busy. If there's any sense, I mean, when we're talking about crosswinds, the weather forecast is pretty much perfect today. Schools are out in force. Great to see so many spectators enjoying the presentation of the riders, and as I say, it's several opportunities. This is an interesting concept that the race organisers, not that unusual to have a circuit, but very often you'll find that the circuit, they'll start and finish in the same place. And we're starting and finishing at opposite ends of this circuit, and we're getting multiple opportunities for the local municipality who will have supported the presentation of this particular stage. Multiple opportunities for the riders to be sort of showcased and presented to the local fans and the local citizens in and around the course. So 2.5 laps in total gives at least 3 options or opportunities to see the riders in those start and finish locations. Oh, stretch the back. Hard work, but impressive work done so far from Christian Ekholm, the little Trek rider, just 22 years of age, from Holbæk in Denmark. Peloton. Through that sketchy little right-hander. By the way, that comes with 3 kilometers to go, if I'm correct. And yes, it is 3 kilometers to go when we come to the final loop. And it is quite a little pinch point, that one. It's certainly going to get their attention. And Milano down the back, one to watch out for. Stage winner in this event 12 months ago. Juan Sebastian Milano, the Colombian rider, one of a string of riders who've taken stage victories in this particular event. Indeed, there are 9 riders with Grand Tour stage wins in the race. Tim Merlier and Fernando Gaviria being the most decorated, 7 Grand Tour stage victories between the two. Or 7 Grand Tour stage victories each, actually, so that's 14 stage victories between the two, evenly divided. And Fernando Gaviria, maybe not at the same place in his career, 31 years of age. The Caja Rural Seguros rider has recorded recent podium success, so finding a little bit of form is the Caharal man. He's also got Yuri Leitao as a potential. Down the back of the peloton, Otto Vergaarde, the big Belgian rider for the Lidl Trek squad. Meanwhile, his teammates up the front. And the entire race neatly bookended by Lidl Trek at the moment. 20 riders, that's an interesting stat. Not even born when the Tour de Hongrie last visit Bekes Chaba back in 2005. But I can tell you, we had a time trial on that occasion. It was a team time trial, 45 kilometers long. Zoltan Ramak used it as a pillar of his successful bid for overall honours. Turned out to be his second successive general classification win, indeed the only non-Hungarian to take more than one victory in this event. So into those final closing barriers, which signal the end of another loop. It's not quite the end of a loop, is it? It's the end of half a loop. More sprint points to be distributed here at the finish line, so we just yeah, 55 kilometers in total for the riders, so they will sort of get the bell here because it's at the finish line, but of course the loop had started at Eula, so yeah, it depends on how you work it out now. We're going to have a mighty scrap, as indeed we did the last lap round for the intermediate points, or intermediate sprint. First of those was at the start line, so it was a slightly different play, and a technical one as well. Benoit Cosnefroid pinching the bonus seconds along the across the line, and now we've got the Bahrain Victoria squad keen to try and secure that one. Do we have Cosnefroid on fine sprint form again? We wait for full confirmation. Well, it's UAE. They're going to get up for the final bonus second, and I think that was Benoit Cosnefroid, potentially the pre-stage favourite. Not the pre-stage favourite, but the pre-event favourite. Well, wait for full confirmation of that. But Benoit Cosnefroid, as I mentioned, is on rocket-like form, the 30-year-old Frenchman, recording success within the last couple of weeks ago, indeed. Hey, get on the blower to say, yep, objective achieved. We have taken the bonus second. We've prevented other teams from getting it. Immediately back to the front is a familiar figure of Martin Severcek. And all that little bit of excitement served to shave another couple of seconds off the advantage. Milano's still down the back. He's not all that concerned about getting involved. Interesting. I mean, I thought he might be slightly... he might be asked by the team to maybe represent for Cosnefroid in trying to do a little bit of lead out, but they've got enough strength in depth, really. One of the 7 World Tour squads in this event. There's confirmation. It's exactly the same finishing order through the finish line on that occasion, the second sprint. Ekholm from Norsgaard, from Benoit Cosnefroid. So Cosnefroid has garnered 2 bonus seconds towards general classification. That's his agenda. For Ekholm and Norsgaard, let's get a look at this again. Great slow-mo images as Cosnefroid neatly taking the benefit of the lead-out provided by Bahrain Victorious, and fortunately for the Style Quick-Step squad, not quite able to prevent him from scooping that bonus second on that occasion. bit like Dainese, that I think there was detail to try and prevent Kuznetsov from scooping that bonus second. Kuznetsov, an overall contender. Dainese, I think, was likely to be the rider who, you know, they're recognizing the danger of Benoit Kuznetsov scooping a bonus second here, a bonus second there. He won't mind using up this energy. He's got several days before he has to strut his stuff on the pitch climb on stage 4. That's Saturday's penultimate stage of the race, and that's the big GC moment for him. Meanwhile, Milano has enough faith in his teammates to be able to just cruise along at the back and just keep his powder dry and hope that he can represent later on. Down the back as well. Gabriele Recagni from the Team Polti Visit Malta squad. They were very, very active in trying to infiltrate the early break of the day. We'll make our way through the roundabouts of Bekish Csaba on the way out of the town. Now, anyone going to give Severcek a hand? Definitely not going to be the Jaco Lula squad. Not too much skin in the sprinting game, so happy enough to leave it up to Sadal Quick Step, but they're deploying just one rider. For them, Junior Le Cerf, I suspect, is going to be the man that is going to try and represent. So they have dual ambitions in this week's short stage race. 5 days of racing, 3.5 opportunities for Merlier, and 1.5 opportunities for Junior Le Cerf. Final day of action has plenty of climbing as well, over 2,000 meters, albeit for riders of the caliber of the World Tour riders, I suspect there's still plenty of the bigger men will be capable of surviving that one and still being involved. Mihaly Mukasi Museum, located in the quarter named after Hungary's internationally renowned realist painter, the Mihaly Mukasi Museum, the cultural centerpiece of Bekish County. Beautiful 19th century mansion that this collection is located in. I must visit, if you get a chance, to visit Bekish County, which I can tell you, it's a beautiful spa town that we start in, and we're taking the waters throughout this county, a beautiful part of the world. Just literally within minutes, actually. The start location is probably only a matter of about 5 or 10 minutes from the Romanian border, far east of Hungary. Ekholm on the front. 22-year-old from Holbeck. Stage victory in the Orland Nations Grand Prix in Poland a couple of years ago was a key moment for him in his career. Also has a fourth on a stage of Giro di Sardegna earlier on this year as well, so the form's reasonable. And he's a rider. Ekholm, by the way, is on the Lidl Trek Future. He's on the development team. This modern way of subbing up riders from your under-23 or your development squad into the senior outfit, and you know, there's lots and lots of movement up and down between those riders, which gives them great experience in the team bus with the elite riders, an understanding of the structures and how the pro game is played. By the time they're signed on full professional terms I mean, they're signed to their Lidl Trek Future racing team. They live a professional life. It's only really when they're assigned to a pro team or indeed a World Tour outfit like Little Trek, that they can say they're fully fledged professionals. At that moment, of course, these days, riders tend to be absolutely fully tuned to the professional life, a complete understanding of how the races are ridden. And they're able to make a full contribution, and Ekholm certainly has achieved by joining up with his man up front, number 13, Thijs Noorsegaard. We can tell he was the first man to attack of this duo. There were plenty of attacks, and it was probably around about the time of the crash. Noorsegaard, no doubt, wasn't quite aware of it, but he literally took his leave of the peloton just as other riders at the back were trying to dust themselves off. And he was kind of dangling off the front for about, gosh, it must have been 10, 15 kilometers. And he was almost towed back under a flurry of salvos fired by the various local Hungarian teams, who were kind of hopping mad that they weren't represented up front. And they were constantly attacking and attacking and attacking. Couldn't quite manage to get across to him without being retained by the bunch, but that pace kind of reduced his advantage, or kept it pared back to just about 15 seconds. Ekholm spotted a mini stall in the bunch, just cruised away, got a gap, got over to his teammate, and lo and behold, Little Trek had two clear of the field. Can be a chancy move, actually, when you're attacking while a teammate of yours is up the road, but it may well have been the objective in the team car this morning, or in the team bus before the stage, when tactics were discussed, that they would have potentially multiple representation up front, and so it's proven. If that's the case, they've got the two riders clear, and they've got the advantage, albeit a tenuous one. So we look at their teammate Bauke Mollema down at the back of the field, oldest man in the bike race, 39 years young. Indeed, he was something in the order of about 22, 23 years of age when the youngest rider in the bunch was born. There's the recent Palmares, the recent list indeed, the roll of honour of this event. Harold Martin Lopez is otherwise engaged in Italy this week. Thibaut Nace, breakthrough performance from him. Mark Hirschi, springboard to greatness for him. Eddie Dunbar as well. It was a huge moment for him in his career when he took his victory in the Tour de Hongrie a few years ago. It's an event that can trace its lineage back to 1925. It's just the 47th edition of this race. It's had a sort of a stop-start history, which I think is a testament to the resilience of the race organizers and those that are charged with the heritage of cycling in this nation, a proud nation for cycling, for sport in general. And I think, you know, those races that have an unblemished or a continuous history in the event, it's almost a steamroller, isn't it? It's a juggernaut by the sheer weight of history. The event tends to have greater solidity on the international cycling calendar. For an event like the Tour de Hongrie, which ran for a couple of years, then had a couple of years where it didn't have the finance to run, then managed to get it going again in the mid-30s, then it went missing. It reappeared in 1942. And then disappeared again, and well, it's had a stop-start run through the 1950s into the 1960s, and into the early years of this century is where it really started to get that year in, year out. It's the longest continuous run of the event, and I think it's, you know, it requires a greater commitment to the history, to the heritage, to the brand that is the Tour de Hongrie, to continue to sort of revisit it and revive it after a couple of years off the calendar. And I think it's a signal of just how committed and determined the local cycling fans and promoters have been through the generations. This event is now firmly established on the calendar. You see Martin Dina, the national champion, cruising along at the back of the peloton. Dino rides with the MBH Bank CSB Telecom squad, and he has, yeah, plenty of history in this event. As you can see, back in 2019, finished second overall. And his maiden national road race success coming last year. Huge moment for him in his career. For Dean, actually, the MBH Bank squad was initially invited, then it was uninvited because one of their riders recorded a doping positive, and then there were various assurances made, and I think no doubt the presence of Martin Dino in their lineup means that they're sort of re-invited, and it's good at least that we have that national champions jersey involved in the race this year. They've got a couple of options for the general classification as well. Alessandro Fancello, the young Italian rider, 6th overall in the Tour of Turkey, a very hilly race, actually super hilly stage to Feshlikan, a tough old stage near Antalya, I think, indicating that he's got decent climbing ability. So Fancello and maybe Samuele Zoccarato as well are options for them. They've also got Davide Persico, another man who performed with distinction in Turkey recently, 25-year-old Italian for the MBH Bank squad. He's certainly one that the MBH Bank team will want to keep as close to the front of the field as possible. Meanwhile, Eggholm and Norsgaard reach a part of this loop with 44k to go. Certainly, they're making decent progress around the tarmac, aren't they? Indeed, just reaching that right turn. They pick up that right turn that the peloton have just reached behind. And it's at that moment that they get the tailwind. So yeah, my eyes didn't deceive me. This is the point at which no doubt those riders are well over 50 kilometers an hour. Plenty of horses. That's horses for courses, isn't it? That's the theme of the day. Probably the theme of the week. It's not unusual, is it, in the Tour of Hungary? And indeed, we had a very pleasant drive from Budapest airport yesterday. Ferenclicht airport in the nation's capital, and through the day it was far from unusual for us to see horses grazing in the meadows that we would encounter. We made our way from motorway to motorway. It's an equine nation. Traditional garb, eschewing the jodhpur, something a little bit more flowing. It's all about being skin tight for these riders. Whole Southern squad at the back. Here you see Michael Van Turen out, former, indeed, two-time European cyclocross champion, and this is an all Belgian lineup and a cyclocross team. And cyclocross teams like to do a bit of stage racing at this time of the year just to keep the engine ticking over, develop that pace. And don't be surprised as well to see the likes of Kai de Broikere. He's got a useful sprint on him. 143 kilometers, well within his compass as a cyclocross star. And no doubt going up and scooping some useful UCI points. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see the Powell Sausen Altez Industria Bau cycling team, a cyclocross squad, infiltrating the lead-outs of the World Tour teams and others in the battle for stage honours today and indeed through the week. Matthias Soneker Norsgaard, former national champion. His sister, of course, is an even better known professional racing cyclist with the same team, Emma Norsgaard Bjørn. She was with the same team. Yeah, she's still with Lidl Trek these days. Big Matthias, 202 centimeters of sheer power. His vital statistics would suggest that he's around about 88 kilograms, so he's certainly not built for climbing, but what an engine on a flat road. He will have been positively salivating at the prospect of 143 kilometers out front in with only 176 meters of elevation gain. And this will be meat and drink to him. Working hard out front, coming down to 40 kilometers to go. So well inside the final hour of racing. Yeah, nice land art. Time to get to Google Translate. Probably the local town that we're working our way through, and everyone happy to put on their best bib and tucker for this one. It's the Magyar, the national language, one of the oldest and most unique languages in the world, isn't it? It doesn't have too many. It doesn't have so much relation with other languages around the region. So it's quite a difficult language to learn. Not so many people from outside of Hungary have mastered it in relative terms. Van Turen out with Kai de Broekere, who I mentioned has a useful sprint on him. So we'll see whether he's their designated sprinter today. Certainly wouldn't be beyond the bounds of possibility. Where the rivers meet. The Korosh flows into the Tisza River from northeast Romania and into eastern Hungary. Still a gap maintained of 55 seconds. Quite an impressive cat and mouse job. It's like Vegard Stakel-Langen, who's just arrived onto, well, he's been there all day. They're just starting to see a little bit of extra representation from the Soudal Quick Step squad. It's remarkable, isn't it? You get that 40 kilometer to go point and suddenly that's the start of the final. And the teams get the word in the ear from the team directors. Now we need to make sure we're represented. Looked a bit like Yves Lampart that was just moving up, perhaps to support his teammate Martin Severcek with a little bit of sustenance, but I think maybe more around just planning for anything that might eventuate. Don't want to get caught out. No surprises. Doesn't look as if we're going to get any crosswind action, but the minute you say a thing like that, well, someone comes with an ambush. Eula Castle, not the first time today we've seen it. Well, they began building this one in July 1566. Well, actually, there was a big siege the same year, so it was around for quite a while before that. The Ottoman army of something over about 30,000 men laid siege to this castle. 2,000 people in there. City defenders surrendered after 63 days of siege. They're quite proud, actually, to have lasted as long as they did. The Ottoman army was rampaging at that point in history. All came to a sticky end as well. Mathias Norsgaard has a couple of Chrono des Nations time trial titles under his belt. He's also former Danish national time trial champion. That's not an easy one to win. A lot of big, strong units that like to race against the watch. Stage of Tour de l'Avenir some years ago, that was his signal that he was coming into the top ranks. And what a big engine, what an excellent engine to have available to you in the Lidl Trek squad. And I think it'll be enjoyable for him to have been given the go-ahead to go looking for a bit of fun in the break, rather than trying to set the tempo on the front of the peloton without a sprinter, without an obvious sprint talent for Matthias Norsgaard. He'll have been pretty happy with that one. First time that I've seen anything close to a little bit of face pulling from Arman Severcek on the front of the peloton. So I wonder if he's not just starting to potentially come to the end of his tether. Ryder's out front. Oh, Ryder's down. Oh, and that's a second spill of the day. Oh, a clumsy little one immediately after. Then a Zen rider. Is there a suit? No, it's one of the MBH, I think. I think those riders that went down immediately afterwards. Oh, well, Jacob Alula implicated in this one, the Pinarello Q36.5 team. Also, great to see a little bit of camaraderie there, and just a little bit of a Harm van Houke, I think it was actually, the Belgian rider that went down for the Pinarello Q36.5. That would have been the first one to go down. And indeed, it was the Jacob Alula man, Kelland O'Brien, that went down after him. That one that happened immediately afterwards was in front, so it was quite confusing, to say the least, when a crash like that happens afterwards. Well, that's Harm van Houke, who's managing to get up. Still a rider on the deck, so we'll wait to get confirmation. Team United Shipping, I think, might have been caught up in that one. We'll wait for full clarification. Might have been an MBH bank trying to work out the jerseys from the distance. No such impediment to the progress of these riders, but that's second crash of the day. Wide open roads, very little road furniture, just that one little pitch point with 3 kilometers to go. To be honest, you wouldn't expect a thing like that, and I don't think that's necessarily just a lack of concentration, but just a little bit of extra movement in the bunch with inside 40 to go. And maybe, just maybe, a little bit of wind out there that can cause a touch of wheels. A little bit of frustration, change in the characteristic of this bunch as we get set to make our way down to the making our way down to the start town as well. There were Eula, third pass of the start line coming up in our third sprint of the day. The two up front not interested in sprinting. I can tell you the UAE Team Emirates squad have had a very productive day so far. Scooped the top place in the bunch, i.e. third across the line in each of the first two sprints today. So the Lidl Trek riders up front will share it, but I suspect it's going to be Ekholm again, and just give him maximum benefit from his breakaway in terms of taking the sprint points. So it's Ekholm again. Also has scored useful points towards the points classification. Norsgaard takes dutifully, follows him across the line. Second place for the third sprint of the day. And now the UAE squad trying to work the Oracle again. Third successive time. NSN squads and the Baloise Flanders team also Flanders Baloise team trying to make their way up and get involved in this one. NSN have options for the final finishing sprint today. Indeed, some very strong final finishing sprint contenders. Chris Nylands, by the way, a former winner of this race. You wouldn't think of him as maybe a GC contender, but you'd never know. Maybe, and he's a very useful sprinter. Maybe, just maybe, they want to, and it's Nylands actually that's going to do a bit of leading out here to try, and he's just slotting in behind Staka Langen, I think it is, that's just going to, or is it Oliveira, that's just going to just set the agenda, set the tempo. Here comes Cosnefroid, springing out of the peloton, but looking vulnerable. Leading through this little right-hander is a very useful thing to do. It paid dividends. First couple of times they're asking, but he's going to get ambushed here. No, he makes it. Tell you what, he is on fire. Cosnefroid is flying because he's straight on the blower to say, yep, I did it, and thanks very much to the team. Meanwhile, down the back, on the Taiway, Mohamed Al Mataiway is the UAE National Road Race Champion, and he will be hearing on the radio that his teammate Benoit Cosnefroid has scooped that final bonus second. So, I mean, very often at the intermediate points, we don't get much activity at all, but short stage races often decided by tiny, tiny margins. And indeed, Chris Nyland's not able to prevent Benoit Cosnefroid. I tell you, he is absolutely flying. And, you know, if he's climbing as well as he's sprinting, and generally speaking, he tends to climb even better than he sprints. I would suggest that Benoit Cosnefroid is going to be very, very tough. Recent winner of the Grand Prix de Morbihan in his native France, up in Plumelec. In western France, in Brittany. Leading in Jesus Harada and Odd Christian Eiking for what was not his first success in that race. Indeed, he's won that race 4 times, including the last 3 years. So Benoit Cosnefroid taking his first victory of the season, albeit he's scored a string of strong results, including 3rd in Amstel Gold, 4th in Flèche Wallonne. You know, victory in Grand Prix de Morbihan is probably not actually as impressive as, you know, 3rd in Amstel Gold and 4th in Flèche Wallonne. Now through and past the centre of the Diocese of Eula, the St. Nicholas Cathedral. Looking pretty good. Down to 30k to go. Gap's gone up. Peloton pulled the pin. That's quite a gain, isn't it, since that one? Well, they had a bit of activity for the sprint. It was showing it inside a minute, so we wait to see and just maybe tap the dial and see if the clock, because Yves Lampart's hit the front here. Maybe starting to get a bit anxious about the strength of those riders up front, particularly Norsgaard. They'll know just what an engine he is. The Carroral team representing, so great. I mean, chapeau. We're going to just wave goodbye, I think, probably to Martin Severchek. He'll go back into the main body of the peloton, try and recover a bit. If he can make another contribution, yeah, well and good. But now it's all hands to the pump, because if that 125 is right, it's a solid advantage for our breakaway riders, and that peloton about to be stretched thin. I think it's still well within the compass of that main peloton to tow this one back. But look at the Modern Adventure Pro Cycling team. Tough old start to the day for them, by the way. At least 2 of their riders went down in that first crash of the day. As you can see, Ezra Cowdell, one of the youngest riders in the race, has been patched up. He's had his shorts patched up, and indeed his upper left thigh looking particularly raw after that unscheduled visit to the tarmac. Samuel Boardman as well, his fellow countryman and teammate with the Modern Adventure Pro Cycling team, also going down in that crash. They've got 2 nailed-on GC contenders this week. A couple of South African climbers on good form this year. Stefan de Bod and Byron Munton. First fire engine that we've seen. Not the last of the week, I suspect. Ezra Cowdell, 19 years young. He has been finishing races consistently, and at 19 years of age, in his first continental season in Europe, as a representative of this brand new team, the Modern Adventure Pro Cycling team, of George Hincapie and other prominent and well-known ex-professional racing cyclists from the United States. And the Modern Adventure Pro Cycling team have certainly not been afraid to mix it with the other teams. They've got Taylor Stites. They've no standout bunch sprinter, but Taylor Stites has gone up for them in the various races that they've been invited to this year. Now we're starting to see the teams represented on the front. The UAE team don't want to let anyone get any sort of an advantage, and want to see if they can do a job here for Juan Sebastian Milano. I suspect is going to be slightly short of lead out by the time it comes down to the final finishing kick. Now Norsgaard in the company of his young teammate up from the development team. I think they've got to switch on here big time. There's 15 seconds indicated on screen that have been shaved off the lead of these riders. Yeah, I think he wins biggest stem, longest stem at any rate in world cycling. That one, there isn't a proprietary integrated cockpit. Not a huge aerodynamic deficit, and certainly he's got the right physical and morphological setup on his bike, and that's the most important thing. Let's open this up. Great to have these helicopter images. It's, I can tell you, been quite a challenging day for the organisers, indeed for the authorities, television authorities, but we've managed to get these signals back to you, so great to see, and well done and chapeau to all, because I know there's been a challenge or two involved with the various aircraft that support this extraordinary logistical challenge. You've got a fixed-wing aircraft that's above the clouds and relaying the image back to the finish line from where it's bounced out to satellites and into homes throughout the world. This particular broadcast being relayed throughout the world, throughout the 6 continents. How many continents are there? Is it 5 or 7? I think we're settled on 6 these days, aren't we? It is a topic of conversation, you know. At any rate, stretches throughout the planet. "29 nations represented in that peloton down there, I can tell you. And it is big push on now from the Soudal Quick-Step squad. No one hanging about. Forgot Stakalangan as well there for the UAE Team Emirates team, just lurking behind Yves Lampart. Severcek still has the legs to make a contribution. That'll be gratefully received. And you can be quite sure that Benoit Cosnefroid friends will want to make sure that they're as close to the front as possible. Adria Pericas as well, Rui Oliveira. All got a shape close to the front. Well, it's not of Oliveira at the moment. We certainly have Lengen, the big Norwegian. That's hyper experienced. Is hyper the right word? He's very experienced. 37 years of age now. Down the back. This one just to be got through for a number of riders, some that have been on the deck earlier on today. Cosnefroid staying close to the head of affairs. Pericas much in evidence as well. There we go. There's Alma Taiwe's managed to link up with Oliveira, and Milano will be thereabouts as well. So pretty much all of the UAE Team Emirates squad. Meanwhile, Tim Merlier's Soudal Quick-Step team still representing with 2 on the front. Merlier is also in evidence on the right-hand side of your picture. He's the next, the sort of third of the Soudal Quick-Steps in line. He's got 2 teammates in front, no doubt. His faithful lead-out man, Bert van Leberge, is 1 in front. And the Powell squad also representing, just trying to infiltrate, putting a rider into the chase. So they feel that they've got a reason to chase. They have a responsibility to chase, that they have the legs to chase. And 18 seconds paired off the lead of those riders in the last 5 or 6 kilometers. That's a pretty quick gain, isn't it? They'll continue to press on this one. They don't want to make it too easy, give any sort of advantage to the 2 up front. They don't even want to give them any hope or belief, I think, knowing just how strong Matthias Norsgaard is. Is that really a full minute? This one's coming down quickly. Norsgaard, they're full on, aren't they? And giving a great account of himself here is young Christian Ekholm as he rides through. Norsgaard out of the saddle just for a little bit of relief for his back, but also sensing that well, you've got to stay on the pedals, and he's not getting anything like the same shelter that Ekholm gets, is he? It's the penalty of being such a tall rider. The benefit, of course, is that you've got those huge levers, all that muscle. Peloton bearing down quickly, and I think a visible difference in their rate across the tarmac. Maybe it's a certain amount of confirmation bias there, but it seems to me that they are going quite a bit quicker than the 2 up front. Stakalangan sets his shoulder to the wheel. Yves Lampaert. Fresh legs from the former Belgian champion. And crowding around behind, we've got representatives of Bahrain Victoria squad, about which I've mentioned nothing, but probably deserving of quite a lot of conversation, actually. Bahrain Victoria is one of 7 World Tour outfits, have arrived with none other. He's back, and he's going to be get lots of attention this week. Attila Valter, the local hero, the winner of this race back in 2020. Stage victory along the way, 3rd back in 2019 as well. Since when, he's been marked absent for various reasons. He's gone, of course, he's been part of the Melissa bike team in recent years. A recent signatory to contract with Bahrain Victoria starting at the beginning of this season, and Attila Valter is delighted, I think, to come back to home shores and see what he can do about producing a decent result. He hasn't quite clicked yet. It hasn't quite happened for him with the Bahrain Victoria's team. He does have quite a useful teammate and ally in the shape of young Jakub Omerzel, the Slovenian rider. And Omerzel, I think, is one to conjure with this week after his 6th place overall in the recent Tour of the Alps, up against some pretty strong caliber of racing talent. So multiple options for Bahrain Victorious. They also have options in the sprint. Phil Bauhaus, the big German 2-time stage winner in this race a few years ago, and Nikias Arndt, although Arndt would ordinarily be a great lead-out man, and indeed potentially even a stage victor, but he was one of the riders who came down in that crash after 9 kilometers today, and he was looking pretty battered after it, pretty torn up. Now the Powell 1000 squad, putting a rider into the mix. 3 teams offering a rider up. 3 relatively fresh riders for this chase against 2 less than fresh, albeit very talented riders up front. Gap down to 45 seconds, shrinking rapidly. Catch seems inevitable. Team Flanders Balois putting riders close to the front. Everyone will want to be present. A couple of riders there for the Caja squad. As I mentioned, they've got the great Fernando Gaviria, 7-time winner of stages of Grand Tours over the years, but also Yuri Leitao, the superstar track man and sort of world champion, Olympic champion as well, Olympic medalist, and on the track, and also winner of stage in his native race in his native Portugal within the last few weeks, Yuri Leitao. So again, multiple options for Caja Rural. So we try and keep an eye on exactly how they're going to set up for the finish today, because it could be either man. I can tell you the publicity caravan has arrived at the finish line. The vehicle with the giant inflatable stork is getting lots of attention and lots of video from the waiting crowd, which has expanded in size. Quite a sizable crowd, I can tell you, here at the finish line. And publicity caravan a la Tour de France, a little bit smaller, but still, it's not a bad one, and keeping everyone amused here at the finish line. And they've settled into a nice old rhythm of banging the advertising hoardings to keep themselves amused ahead of the arrival of the riders. Won't be long now. No more than about 25 minutes, I suspect, before we're at the finish line, potentially a little bit sooner than that. At the front of the arrowhead, represented by the cyclocross men. Down to 23 seconds, not to be today. Unless something remarkable happens. Useful hit out. And for these riders, no doubt, one way or another, they'll take something from this. You have to try, I suppose. He's got the Vuelta a España on his list for this year. No plans for Norsgaard to go to the Tour de France, but 1 or 2 riders in this peloton will also be keeping an eye on and keeping He'll have a date in July in France, marked on their calendar. Right turn with 18 kilometers to go, and the peloton have almost scooped up our intrepid breakaway heroes. They'll head into a little bit of a headwind now. Change the characteristic of this bunch. Again, it's about 17, 18 kilometers per hour, so not gale force Edna. It's not exactly, you know, the sort of winds that would characterize the March and April one-day classics in Belgium. Nonetheless, when we turn right with 3 kilometers to go, is something of a crosswind finale, which will play into the thinking of the squads. Everyone will want to try and sprint to glory off a rider's wheel on the right-hand side, but I suspect the entire peloton will almost be in the right-hand gutter on the approach to the finish line. So if you want to come past a rider, it's going to have to be in the left-hand side and the crosswind side. So will we have an early sprint to one of those ones where if you launch early, you can benefit? Let's see how it plays out. So our Quick Step squad want to make this one as tough as possible all the way into the latter stages. Not unusual to see Soudal Quick Step take up the pacemaking throughout the day. Well, the back of the peloton with Otto Vergarde and Bauke Mollema. Mollema number 11. In his day, definite overall contender for this race, but he's retiring at the end of the season. What a fabulous career he's had. And no doubt his main benefit to the team is to use that engine where he can, to support other riders, and indeed to set the agenda and to help to school and set a standard for his teammates, his young emerging teammates in the bus in and around the races. Engen on the front. When he hits the front, it's tough to do anything but follow in the wheels, even if you wanted to. Plenty of teams, I think, will be happy enough to organise for a sprint finish today, because it just looks like that kind of day. Plenty of teams with fine sprinting talent. We've mentioned Phil Bauhaus going up against the likes of Tim Merlier, Fernando Gaviria, or will it be Yuri Leitao? Itamar Einhorn is an option for the NSN cycling team. Chris Nylands, we've already seen use his sprint to try and prevent Benoit Koznefrov from scooping a bonus second or two. And Sebastian Molano for the UAE Team Emirates squad. The XTS Astana team, completely anonymous to this point in the day. As far as they're concerned, that's absolutely sugar dandy. They won't be too disappointed with that. They've got Max Canter, 4 top 10s in this particular event back in 2022, and his last one and only appearance indeed in Tour de Hongrie. And Max Canter, the German sprinter, is a fine option for them, supported by Mike Tunison and Lev Gonov. Other sprinters of calibre and ability: Davido Persica, we've mentioned, for the MBH Bank CSB Telecom Fort squad. Hungarian registered Italian dominator-based team. There'll be with 2 Hungarian natives in their lineup. We've got Persica. Manuel Huku, the French rider, is with the Pinarello Q36.5 Pro Cycling team. I hope that Harm van Houke was okay after his spill. He's been able to make his way back in. A rider who's performed with distinction in this race in the past, not afraid of the climbs presented in this particular event. And still haven't quite got them back, have they? So it's been kind of hovering and dangling at that 10-second mark or so for the last couple of kilometers. That was a look of a man, Ekholm, who's thinking, if you're going to catch us, go ahead and catch us. But he's not going to give in. Continue to lay the watts out on the tarmac, as many as he's got for as long as he can. A little bit of a face pull there from Norsgaard, I think, to represent the fact that well, he's got about 120k out front at this point. So not far short of 3 hours in the breakaway. Well, with 55 kilometers to go, the gap was down to 38 seconds. It did spring back out, didn't it, to over 1 minute and 20 seconds, and then has shrunk rapidly to the point where the catch is not just inevitable, but imminent. Lampard still soldiering on the front. Severcek, maybe his final contribution. Great job being done as well by, I think that's Gerben Kuipers, who's doing the legwork for the Powell's Sausen Altes Industria Bau cycling team, heretofore known as Powell Sausen. It's a well enough known cyclocross team. Cyclocross riders typically race for about an hour, typically train for hours and hours and hours to try and build that engine that will mean that when they sort of lay down the intensive work closer to the season and into the season proper, they've got a base to support it. Jaco Alula assembling close to the front, keeping their man well protected. Other sprinters have noted, I've mentioned Alexis Renard for the Team Cofidis squad. Definitely an option for them today. Nolan Heisman's probably the most accomplished sprinter for the Team Flanders Baloise team. Who's going to protect too? And we've got a mixture of trying to look after GC men. Sylvain Moniquet has a teammate, Louis Roulin, trying to keep the Cofidis man protected, huddled in the teeming mass. Just arriving into the or is it just out of that bit where you can throw all your rubbish away with impunity? Hungarian national squad just trying to root up the outside. I can tell you their lineup is probably the youngest in the race, but the average is somewhat skewed by the presence of Marton Sulemoshi. He's 36 years of age, and his lineup of the rest of the 6 riders, the oldest of which is 20, the youngest of which is just 18 years of age. Mark Varga, youngest rider in the bike race. Indeed, got a host of teenagers in this one. No less than 13 riders yet to break 20 years of age in this particular edition. Indeed, it's the youngest average age of an edition of Tour de Hongrie since 2019. Words of encouragement from Matthias Norsgaard, as if to say, well, you know, chapeau and thanks, but I think we're just about there. Yves Lampart. Great work done as he hands over to Vegard Stakalangen again. Gerben Kuipers there to assist. And that's it, in time to say well done and congratulations. And I think Norsgaard wanting to pay tribute to his young teammate by leaving him on the front just at the moment of capture. It's pointing him to the front, and it's just, I think, a little signal of tribute and respect and support, indeed, from an experienced professional, for a rider that at just 22 years of age is hoping for the contract to come that will secure his place at the top table. Nice shift of work from both. Chapeau to the riders up front as they are absorbed once again. Just approaching 10 kilometers to go. We're Gruppo Compato here in the Tour de Hongrie. Team Jacob Alula squad, no doubt mindful of that 5k to go sprinters line, and the knowledge that they can protect their GC hopefuls. Paul Double, Luke Plapp. Up to and into that point. First time we've seen the Astana sky blue colours and the blue helmets of the Astana team. As I mentioned, they've got Max Canter, Mike Turnison, former stage winner, of course, and yellow jersey holder in the Tour de France. Apologies for a little bit of picture break-up here. All sorts of challenges, and switching to digital images here, and they're working nicely indeed as we move into that tuning fork style assembly at the front, with the Jaco Alula team on the right hand side in protection mode. The chase has been set up by the Soudal Quick-Step team today for Tim Merlier. Severcek and Yves Lampard have dedicated themselves to that work. Now they'll switch to trying to set something up for Tim Merlier. And Merlier himself going to stay safely in the pocket. He's got his lead-out men. He's got two in front, by the way. Just trying to be mindful of the Bahrain Victorious team with Phil Bauhaus. They're over on the left-hand side of the picture. Coming up the middle, Team Flanders Baloise. Is it going to be for Nolan Heismans? Well, we'll see how it plays out. Meanwhile, Norsgaard is at the back, potentially off the back, I think. Might just roll in and try and protect the legs. He'll have an eye on doing something similar again tomorrow. Meanwhile, Team United Shipping is showing in the sky blue colours in the centre of his shot at the moment, a Hungarian registered team. They've got Nikiforos Arvanitou, the Greek national road race champion. Keep an eye out for him. Useful sprint performances from him on home soil and Tour of Hellas in the last couple of weeks. Last week indeed, wasn't it? The Tour of Hellas completing last Sunday. We'll see if we can see the Greek national kit. Not in evidence at the moment, but rule it out. And the Stork takes its departure, heads to the finish line. No doubt. Yeah, it's a pair of Storks. No Florians are represented in this race. Florians elsewhere, I think, engaged in other parts of Europe. 8 to go. All very controlled at the moment. That can add its a layer of concern, I think. Pace is high, but not hectic. It's manageable. Remember, we've got that 3k to go point, and everyone's going to want to own it in there. But from 3k to the finish line with a bit of crosswind, not easy to control it. It's important to be towards the front of, I think, that pinch point. The road narrows significantly. The riders have already seen it twice. They understand the nature of the challenge. The problem is, of course, each and every rider in that bunch knows and understands the nature of the challenge. Severcek still has the legs, and that, I think, tells you that it's eased off ever so slightly. Luke Durbridge, Turbo Durba, just on his wheel, has plenty of experience of this race. 11th overall back in 2020. I say plenty of experience. This is his third participation in the Tour de Hongrie. He's down the back. I did mention that it's been a tough old day for Harm van Houke. Well, he stayed safely in the peloton. Belgian climber, just trying to ease that shoulder, but relief, I think, that he is still present. Hopefully no lingering after effects for Harm van Houke, and he can get himself right to challenge. They also have Kamil Malecki in their lineup as well, the Polish rider, 30 years of age, second overall in this race back in 2018. These days, he's found employment with the Pinarello Q36.5 Pro Cycling team, who have Emmanuel Huku as a potential sprint option today. So if you have the front, you want to control it. You don't want to deploy too much resource. All cool, calm and collected at the moment. Teams behind will be, no doubt, marginally frustrated. Plenty of time, I think, in those wide open boulevards between 3K to go and the finale to get into position. So hopefully it's not too crazy down into that 3K to go mark, because if you haven't quite put yourself in position, there ought to be time to recover. Durbridge with Luke Plapp on his wheel will be satisfied with the current state of affairs. The Astana squad as well, happy enough to take their cue from the purple-clad Jacob Alula team. Powell Sousen squad on the front as well. And, two where they need to be. Pinarello Q36.5 squad, minus Harm van Houke on the left-hand side of the bunch, so right-hand side of picture at the moment, and they're just behind the white jerseys of UAE Team Emirates XRG. Still, Vigard Stakalangen has the legs to control for them. Buku has pretty much the entire, well, at least three of his team lined out in front of him. Kamil Maletsky is a very useful man, last man for him potentially. Nicolo Parasini as well, lining up in front for the Pinarello Q36.5 squad. Nice bit of bunch management there from the riders in blue on the right-hand side of picture as they ease their way into the front row. From the left, Jacob Alula. Team United Shipping immediately to their left as we look at the overhead. And you've got those two riders from Powell Sousen's cyclocross lineup. A couple of Team Flanders Baloise riders. The UAE Team Emirates XRG and then the Pinarellos. And there's still no concern, or no obvious concern, being displayed by the Soudal Quick-Step squad, who've done so much of the pacemaking and the chasing today on behalf of Tim Merlier, and happy enough to tap along in the wheels and just set up behind the UAEs, and just immediately to the right, actually just behind the Team Flanders Baloise riders. Team Flanders Baloise with 4 to the good. So it's Luke Durbridge grinding along just where he needs to be. Pelikan, I think, is the Hungarian rider representing on the front for Team United Shipping at the moment. Vercouy for the Team Flanders Baloise team is handily placed as well. $4K to go. Things getting a little bit more tense in that peloton. Confluence of two rivers. Plenty of meeting of minds necessarily. I'm not so sure about that, but certainly meeting of handlebars and shoulders in that peloton. We look overhead and wait for the arrival of the riders at the finish line. Inside 4 to go. Still, it is we're inside the danger moments for the Jaco Alula squad, but they represent on the front. They'll try and set the tempo and keep things fast. One final time. Team Flanders Baloise grimacing. So they recognise you've got to get over to the right-hand side, and it squeezes down here as we approach. This difficult little right-hander comes in about 300 or 400 meters time. It's at that roundabout that's indicated on that road sign on the right-hand side. Flashes out of shot and pile down into this one. If you go to the left here, you could have a long L route. Well, as you can see, yeah, you can go to the left of those barriers and it will rejoin in a moment, but you could lose a little bit of positioning. Down the inside, definitely ideal. Perfectly executed, so sure that riders are going to be able to join. Yeah, I think they're going to be able to rejoin without too much difficulty. So that nicely handled, nicely judged by the Jacob Alula squad. No panic in the peloton. Peloton's small enough in number. And now it's the Modern Adventure Pro Cycling team, charging off the front without an outstanding sprinter. Is this, yeah, setting a tempo. Another team without an outstanding sprinter is the Lidl Trek squad. They're trying to get going. Is this Söderqvist? It's a fine time trial. Let's tell you what, give him a few bike lengths of an advantage. And Jakob Söderqvist is asking a big job of the Astana squad to try and close them down. I'm not so sure he's been given as much rope as he would very much like, but nonetheless, Söderqvist is going to make this a very fast and intense approach to the 2K to go marker with the Astana squad. Next up on behalf of Max Canter, NSN trying to get organised and lots of jockeying for positions. No sign of Tim Merlier, who's at the bottom of the shot at the moment on the left-hand side. Still trying to judge this one. It's a long drag race through to the finish line. Söderqvist is not going to have his time in the sun today in Hungary. He is nonetheless helped to keep this a fast approach. And, well, it's almost chaos, isn't it? Look at how wide that road is. One flew east, one flew west. And riders with different agendas, indeed teammates getting split up on opposite sides of the road. It's the Astana squad that, as they rode, peels around to the right-hand side. The Astana team that have a nice situation for their man, Max Canter, third in line, two teammates in front. And Bert Verneberger is looking for his teammate, Tim Merlier. Has he managed to find him? Also looking to get into the mix, and there's a clear separation between those teams that believe they can contest for glory today and those that just want to surf in the wheels. Well, a big look around to see where his teammate is as the Jaco Penarello Q36.5 squad looking for Emmanuel Huku approaching the kite, 1,000 meters remaining, and now they're back in the front. And now it is Sudal Quickstep, happy enough that they've put the band back together again and they've got control. Dainese on the front here, I believe, and Van Leberge is going to look after his man Tim Merlier further down in the shot and just behind the UAE Team Emirates XRG, 3 for Milano in front. Juan Sebastian Milano has got two teammates available. Who's going to be able to set up? And look at this, wide open boulevard through to the finale here. Riders moving left and right. Sky blue of the Astana squad trying to pick up on the coattails of the Bahrain victorious team. As we run into the line, it's going to be a big lead out here for Juan Sebastian Milano. He launches first. Where's Merlier? Merlier's right on his tail. Here comes Tim Merlier around the outside of Juan Sebastian Milano. As Caviri is also coming with a run for the Car. He's not going to get up there. Neither two is Max Canter. It's Merlier all the way. No, it's going to prevent him. Tim Merlier gets the win ahead of Juan Sebastian Milano. The issue never really in doubt. Tim Merlier for Juan Sebastian Milano and the rest in line astern. But glory for double European champion of the past, Tim Merlier, delivering on the first day in the Tour of Hungary. Well, all so routine, kept it clean all the way to the line, and that was the expected victory delivered in fine style. Simone Buda, well, the first time he's seen Tim Merlier today was when he came up to congratulate him. Obviously a decent sprint performance from Solmay Ulmer rider, but well, it's all about Tim Merlier as riders hit the ground close to that final bend on the approach to the run to the line. Young Ormerzel, Jakob Ormerzel, Slovenian national road race champion, indeed one of their GC contenders, and Ormerzel will be, well, he'd be sore after that one and frustrated, I think. He's really hopping mad, but at least he's up, and certainly up. And into the overall race leadership after day one, Tim Merlier. The first victory of his career. Not the last win of the week, I suspect. Job done for the 33-year-old. He's only had 5 days of racing. He'd somewhat truncated, or at least a delayed start of the season after some niggling knee injuries that were finally addressed. 5 days of racing, 3 victories. Not his second successive win after a couple of wins on home roads in recent weeks and months. Ormerzel is going to get the time of Tim Merlier, so safely home for him. He's not the only one implicated in that little tumble. And sometimes it's the wider the road, the more chaotic the finale as the riders swept left and right. No one knowing exactly which wheel to take, and so you get wave after wave. The wave goes one way at the front, and the snake can create a little bit of whiplash in the tail. It's very easy to find yourself overlapping a wheel. For Ommersel, he was the unlucky man to go down in that one. Looking a bit cut up. It's also looking like he can pedal the bike, so fingers crossed he's able to make a full recovery. Certainly gets a very warm welcome at the finish line. Frustrated, sore, but still on his bike. Let's get a look at this in the overhead again, as textbook stuff actually from the Soudal Quick Step squad, as they managed to organize the lead out right into the final 500 meters. Van der Berge is going to try and set something up for Tim Merlier. That's Ommersel just going down. Only rider to actually go down in that one, I think. Thankfully and mercifully. Meanwhile, Milano launched almost perfectly, actually, with 200 meters to go, but Merlier up and over him in a thrice. I mean, it was almost instant, wasn't it? And that's just a different level of snap. Bike lane clear at the end. Phil Bauhaus getting up for a fine third place. Buda, by the way, that's a cracking fourth place finish for him ahead of Max Canter. Gaviria was also in the mix. Some big names there, but the biggest name of all, Tim Merlier. He's the one with his arm in the air. For Milano, I think there can be little complaint. He was best of the rest, clearly best of the rest, launched at just the right time. Bauhaus not able to get up over the big Colombian. Neither to his compatriot Gaviria, who was overhauled in the run to the line by Simone Buda. Tell you, Yuri Leitao is just coming in, so he encountered some difficulty in the final few kilometers of that race. The Portuguese sprinter, his teammates Fernando Gaviria getting up for a top 10 finish. Gaviria would probably have been the designated sprinter in any event. Well, lots of riders with a story to tell. There's the Monkashi Mihaly Museum. I recommend a visit. Over 600 great artworks there. So I can tell you the crowd here at the finish line have done an immediate sort of volte-face, turned through 180 degrees at the finish line and are now facing the victory podium, waiting anxiously and expectantly for the arrival of Tim Merlier and the other prize winners and jersey holders of the day. Well, it bears repeating. Great to get a look at it one more time. At this point, Bert van der Berge has his man Tim Merlier right on the tail of the three riders from the UAE squad, so that's a perfect scenario, isn't it, for Merlier? And van der Berge is able to move across and see that Merlier has picked up on Milano. The peloton is stretched thin enough that that's a beautiful agenda. Indeed, he's able to use the final lead out for Milano as a pocket to race into. He's straight over the top. Perfect snap, perfect delivery. 3 wins for 2026. There's confirmation of the finishing order at the conclusion of stage 1 of the Tour of Hungary for 2026. Tim Merlier gets up to justify his favourite status as the winner of the stage, ahead of Juan Sebastian Milano. Bauhaus in 3rd place for the Bahrain Victoria squad. Buda, fine 4th, ahead of Canter Parasini. Gaviria fading to 7th. DeLonghi Taylor Steitzen, the leading Hungarian, and that's an important award, is Balint Karpacsi for the Hungarian national team, just 20 years of age and into the top 10 of a major international stage race. Huge moment for him as he makes his debut in his home national tour.
Ahogy azt már az előbb is mondtam, a versenyzőre várunk már csak, hogy megérkezzen, felfrissüljön. Kevesebb, mint 3 óra alatt tekerték le ezt a 143 kilométert, ezt ne felejtsük el, még egyszer megismétlem. Tehát, hogyha valaki ezzel nagyjából tisztában van, azt tudja, hogy az viszonylag magas tempó. Így van, ezt is.
Tim Ellier, congratulations, 5th race day this season and already the 3rd victory. Take us through that sprint at the end.
Yes, Danisi and Bert did a good job, definitely. We lost each other a bit, but we didn't stress about it. I think once in the last kilometer we come together, and then Alberto did his last move, and then also Bert. I think with 500 to go, he bring me in a perfect position. Still did a little bit of lead out, and then then I was waiting until 200 meters, and then I launched him.
Where do you rank your sprint at the moment? Your luck seems to be pretty good, but what were the feelings after it?
Feeling is okay. If like you say, only the 5th race of the season and 3rd win, so I only can be happy.
Finally, tell me a little bit about the stage in general. There was much bigger fight for the break as I expected or anybody expected, and there were some crashes. So was it a nervous stage, or how did you feel from the inside?
Yeah, after 20 kilometers was a big crash. I was a bit surprised. Really nice roads, definitely. No road furniture. So I was surprised about the crash, and then some other crashes also. So I think the riders were a bit nervous about possibility for echelon or something. I don't know. But it was not the fault of the organization at all. And then and in the end we were a bit surprised about the 2 guys who were riding quite really strong, definitely. And then also my first pro team, Paul Soos and LT Bow, I think they call now. They start to help also. So for the sprinter, De Klerk, I think is the name. So was happy to see it. They give him also a bit of motivation, like I started also before.
Thank you very much, and congrats. Thank you.
Nice analysis there from your stage winner, Tim Merlier, who had a word out for his... he's a cyclocrosser, of course, isn't he? Tim Merlier began with the Powell Sozen squad, and they had designs on some sprint success today. Didn't quite pay off for them, but they put a man into the chase, and that was gratefully received. Now De Klerk, I think, was the guy they were going for. We'll keep an eye out on him. A shout out from none other than Tim Merlier. And Tim Merlier as well, saying it was kind of unusual, wasn't it, the crashes today? A little bit of nervousness out there. Maybe everyone being kept on their toes about the potential for echelons. Didn't happen. But an absolutely perfect course laid out by the race organisers, and certainly Tim Merlier enjoying his first visit to this race, just his 5th race day of the season. It's all tuning up very nicely. All the battles to come. Tour de France on his programme, of course. String of one-day races and small stage races in Belgium in prospect, but the Tour de France is the big goal, the big objective for Tim Merlier. It's that late start to his season, certainly not any obvious penalty for him so far.
Stage Patrol is going to give out a sausage special prize, and Eisengramer Károly, main organizer of the Tour de Hongrie. Ladies and gentlemen, the stage winner of the first stage on the 47th Tour de Hongrie is riding for Soudal Quickstep, Tim Merlier.
Yeah, one stage in Hungary and one stage victory for Tim Merlier. Almost matter of fact, wasn't it? It's come to become almost routine. He would balk at suggestions that it's easy. Somehow, some way, he's produced amazing consistency in his sprint performances. And gets a beautiful glass trophy to carry home to Vortigam, Pettigam. Man from Flanders not finished yet, as I mentioned. Tomorrow's stage offering another opportunity, albeit there's a climb relatively close to the finish line, within 13 kilometres. He gets up and over that one. Few would bet against a second successive win for Tim Merlier, winner on day one of the Tour of Hungary.
Thank you very much. Az ünneplésnek még nincs vége, szóljon a taps, Tim Merliernek!
'71 victories and not his final moment in this victory presentation. Jerseys to collect. Further confirmation of the finishing order with no less than 3 riders from Italy in the top 10, 2 riders from Germany, a couple of Colombians. US rider Taylor Stites getting up for 9th, and the local horde represented by Balint Carpacci, but no one able to overhaul the flying Belgian Tim Merlier, top of the pile on day one.
And the Balog László, owner of the 100-year-old pastry shop in Gyula.
So, rather expectant Stork and a few other local dignitaries, friends of the race, fans of bike racing, curious onlookers.
Yellow jersey is riding for Suda Quickstep, Tim Merlier!
On hand to witness the presentation of the first leader's jersey of the week. Tim Merlier, proud moment for him, not his first leader's jersey. All about gaining stage honours this week, nonetheless. We'll get a kick out of this one.
Once again, give it up for Tim Merlier!
Tim Merlier backing up his victories in Ronde van Limburg, Scheldeprijs, the Sprinters Classic. And now to the overall race leadership. By that single second, Christian Ekholm hoovering up all the available bonus seconds, the maximum available bonus seconds at any rate, out the road in the early break of the day. Milano in third at that 4 seconds, 6 bonus seconds for him today. Mosgaard infiltrating the top 10 as well after his breakaway exploits. The rest of the top 10 occupied by riders from the sprint, with the exception of Benoit Cosnefroid, already 3 seconds clear of his GC rivals. 3 seconds gained. Worthwhile just tuning up in the sprints, no doubt. That potentially will be a policy that will be maintained through the week. That's indeed if there's less than 3 riders in that breakaway group. Beautiful sunshine into the late afternoon, early evening here at the finish line in Békéscsaba. Relatively fresh conditions. The mercury hasn't quite broken 20 degrees Celsius today, so it hasn't been particularly warm. Indeed, it hasn't been particularly warm throughout Hungary. Weather is at its best actually in this eastern part of the nation.
Is riding for Sudal Quickstep.
Tim Merlier is your leader of the points classification as well. Here's a jersey he won't wear. Not tomorrow at any rate. But few would bet against him claiming the final green jersey of the week next Sunday. Let's go to goodie bag there and some local savouries to digest and savour, enjoy. Tim Merlier needs a little trailer on his bike, I think, to carry all that, all the booty back to the Sudal Quickstep team bus.
Once again, give it up for Tim Merlier.
And he manages to smile. I don't think he's smiling is his big thing, really. I think sprinting is the thing that he's good at. He certainly doesn't, there's nothing disingenuous about his smile. When he gives it, it's a winning one. Tim Merlier with that 4-point advantage over Milano and Christian Ekholm, within 5 points of the lead of that competition. If he goes in the break tomorrow, he could potentially wear that jersey before the end of the week. It's Milano, I think, that'll be wearing it into day 2 on behalf of the leader of your points classification. Sprinter's jersey, an almost traditional green. Not every race adopts the yellow, green, red and white colours, but that's the way they're doing it here. There's no youth classification here, but we do have a best Hungarian rider for a white jersey.
Red jersey will be presented by compliance director of Opidis, Sándor Roland, and Isaac Americano, main organizer of the Tour de Hongrie. And the mountains classification leader who wears the red jersey, who spent most of the stage in the breakaway, the little track rider, Christian Ekholm.
Well, they've got to get that mountain jersey on someone, and it was nary a mountain. It was barely a ripple on the tarmac to interrupt the progress of the riders today. But well, there's a jersey to wear at any rate for Christian Ekholm tomorrow, and certainly some visible evidence of the value of his tough shift of work. Christian Ekholm, second overall, third in the point standings, and the ostensible leader of the King of the Mountains classification.
Once again, give it up for Christian Ekholm.
There weren't actually any climbs today. Someone's got to wear that jersey.
Congratulations, Christian.
Just one summit finish in this year's event. That's the rise to pitch on day 4 on Saturday. Day 5, the Sunday stage, is also a very grippy one. It's going to be challenging potentially for some of the sprinters to last throughout that one. Final climb, though, comes with 27.5 kilometers from the finish line, so every chance that we could have a regrouping of sorts. Potentially a big group finish as well in prospect. So 3 nailed-on sprints, you would think. followed by the big GC day on Saturday, followed by grippy and challenging day of defending for the overall race leader into the final run to home.
And the Hungarian overall leader, who's wearing the white jersey, which is sponsored by Magyar Közút, is riding for the Hungarian national team, Kárpáti Bálint!
A huge day out for Kárpáti Bálint, or Bálint Kárpáti. It depends on how. I mean, the local way of it is to go with the surname, almost as it is in parts of Asia. 20 years of age, a string of strong results, including fifth on the stage with the Belgrade Banja Luka already this year. That result coming at UCI level, a 2.2 level. Infiltrating the top 10. He's got a bit of an engine, but got a bit of a kick on him. Able to surf the wheels and found his way to a top 10 in a major international stage race. Now he could get used to this. Local fans will find a way to pick out the best placed local rider in tomorrow's bunch. On all the local riders in the top 10 of that particular classification. All at the same time, all safely in the main peloton. Not too many riders behind the main peloton today. Just Yuri Leitao was the only obvious one that we saw coming in. But suffice it to say, not too many delayed. By my calculation, we had 104 actually sprinting in that sprint out of 112 riders that began the day. We understand that all 112 starters finished today, so that's good to hear. Christian Bagatine, stage winner in the recent Tour of Turkey. Great climbing performance from the break on that occasion, but we understand the final rider in, just over 13 minutes down. Well, let's take in some of the key events on what's been a very busy, very entertaining, I have to say, first day of racing action. One for the sprinters, but it had plenty to keep us amused along the way.